Welcome to Bag, this series where I am beating all Game Boy Advance games. Released in 2003 and developed by Digital Eclipse, today we are playing Mucha Lucha Mascaritas of the Lost Code. Starting off this game, we get to select our character, and there's only one that we can choose from so far, and then we start the first level. So this game is based off a show with the same name, which I've never seen before, but something I want to do is research before I make these videos so I can give you a little bit more context of what's going on. I'm still not going to do any research going into the video games though, because I want to go into them blind. So the game starts off with the school principal, headmistress, telling Ricochet, Wayne Girl, and the Flea that they better find the Code of Masked Wrestling book that they were last seen using or they will be expelled. So this game starts off, you're thrown into this school, and then there's this kid called Private Reinhardt that is starting to attack you. So you can do two things, you can punch and you can kick. It took me so long to realize that some block your kicks and some block your punches. So you have to figure out which ones they block and then do the opposite. And you also have to hit them about 300 trillion times before they actually die. So I just thought for the longest time that I was doing something wrong until he finally died. There are also some secret rooms that if you punch them, they'll jiggle, and then you just keep destroying them until the wall breaks, and then you'll sometimes find food that will help heal you. But for some reason, I actually found that a lot of the time, these rooms led to just more enemies that you wanted to just avoid. And you'll see why you want to avoid them in just a minute. This level also has the El Gundamo character, and this one requires you punching to be able to kill it. Although I do think that you can kill them with the opposite, it's just that they like to block those attacks more. So pretty much you kick the guys with the gas masks and you punch the people with the purple hair. And that's pretty much the entire game. I'm actually not lying. That is the entire game. Also, pretty much the tactic that you're going to want to use throughout the entire game is to corner an enemy somewhere and then just go ham on them. And this is actually almost a requirement, and you'll see why very, very shortly. This game also allows you to just corner them on the sides of the screen, which is really good because, again, it's basically a requirement. Once you get to the end of the stage and you clear all of the normal enemies, a boss comes out. And at first I was really confused, but now looking back and reading the Wikipedia, these are apparently characters who served as villains throughout the series, like the TV series. And so the person that comes out here is called Prima Donna Hodges, and again, is one of the main villains in the actual show. There's nothing really different about them. They're just bigger, but again, you either punch or kick them depending on what their weakness is, I guess. And when you finally defeat the boss, you get the end screen that tells you how many enemies defeated, your time, and your grade. And this is where I learned you have a time limit. Yep, you have 5 minutes or less to beat this level, meaning I had to do it all over again. So that's what I was talking about when I said you're not going to want to even go into those secret rooms, especially when they're just full of enemies, because it is basically a time crunch to get to the end of the level. And why I said it's also very important to just corner them on the edge of the screen, because again, it is just a time limit, time crunch speed run to get to the end of this level so you can actually beat it. And I think the thing that's the worst of all is that there's absolutely no indicator on how long you've taken. There's no time on the screen, nothing. You just have to pray and run. But before we move on to the next level, this is just a great opportunity for me to fast forward the second playthrough so you can see what a whole level looks like, played from the absolute beginning to the end. And you can just see how extremely boring and repetitive it is. Level 2 is pretty much the exact same as level 1. Except now there's some environmental hazards, and then there's also this like exclamation mark, which I don't know what it does. It puts it up in the top bar, but I have no idea what it does. Honestly, outside of the environmental hazards, the biggest change is that now the bosses are just spread out in the level. Like you have to fight multiple of them per level now instead of just one at the end. So here's an example. There's these 2 doors. The one I thought was completely locked, so I decided to try to punch the red bookcase because I figured that might be a secret, and it was. And in this room, there were enemies that I had to kill, and I figured, hey, maybe one of them is going to drop a key or something to unlock that door. Yeah, so it turns out, no, I just had to punch the door. Like, there was no reason to come into this room unless there's just something that I'm completely missing. And the game has so many of these secret rooms that are just filled with nothing but enemies. And keep in mind, you don't have to kill all the enemies to beat the game. So I don't know what the point of them are. And the same thing, once you kill all the basic enemies, the boss appears, which is the exact same boss as the previous level, and then the level's over. So if I came to your house right now and I sat you down, I whispered into your ear that this next level is the exact same as the previous 2 levels, would you believe me? Well, that doesn't have to happen. because you can just open your eyes and watch. I will say, however, I did discover something here. I can't remember. I think it might be pressing A and B at the same time. You release this like superpower that kills every enemy on screen immediately. So you'll notice that there's that blue bar in the top left corner, and when you kill enemies, that blue bar will slowly fill. When that blue bar is filled, you have that power to just destroy everyone that's on the screen with one single button press, and then you have to refill that bar again. So while these levels are pretty boring and repetitive, and honestly, like, it's barely a game in my eyes, it kind of gets worse. So every 4th level is a boss fight, and that sounds really cool. That sounds really interesting, except it's just the same thing. You just spam the punch button. Oh wait, but what's this? We unlocked a signature move? Oh my god, there's more than just punching and kicking? Yeah, that would be great, except I don't know how to use it. I pressed every button under the sun. I just couldn't get it to work. I even went to YouTube, found a playthrough, looked at all the comments, and poor Marco from 3 years ago had the exact same question and never got an answer. I have no idea how to use these special moves. Probably would have been pretty cool. Probably would have changed the game up a little bit, but I have no idea how to use them. Anyway, the next cutscene has Teacher Senior Hasbina telling us not to waste our time, that we need to find that book or headmistress will expel us. Literally what we already know. Then Ricochet says that we should look in his backpack. And wouldn't you know it, it's the exact same thing, it's just retextured sprites. So this time we are fighting an enemy called Savage Backpacks. Some of them have clubs, some of them have spears, some of them you punch, some of them you kick. Also, maybe this ties in with the show, I've never seen it, but I do think it's kind of funny that we're in his backpack, like the backpacks, the books, like that makes sense, that's cool. But why are we in this weird like alleyway with dumpsters full of garbage? How is that his backpack? I don't understand. And then same with the other ones, you get to the end of the level and a boss comes out. Fortunately, I decided that I'm going to save up my insta-kill thingy, and it works on the bosses, and we beat it in no time. But don't worry, I know you're probably like, well, I didn't even get to see what that boss looked like. Yeah, you'll be seeing that boss a lot. This next level still is, I guess, taking place in his backpack, but it's more like caveman vibes, which I mean, I guess it makes sense more because the spears and the clubs. So I guess the first level was kind of like the outlier one. And it's genuinely the same thing. So I'm just going to show you a few little things. Yeah, so it's caveman-y. This is what that boss looks like. You can also pick up items, like I pick up this rock, and when you throw it at people, which is very hard to actually control and aim, it almost does no damage, so there's no point to even do that. And then also, for some reason, this place has popsicles hanging up. I don't know. And then that's the end of this level. The next level takes place in this area. I don't know what this is. I think it might be some bowling alley. Like, it looks like there's bowling pins on the roof, and then this shelf here looks like it's a shelf full of bowling balls. Also, every once in a while, there's this power up here that once you get it, it's sort of like your power up that just kills everything on screen. I don't know why they put that in the game. I feel like they were like, hey, let's put that in the game so people have to play this game less. I don't know. And also, one thing I want to make a note of here is that every punch and every kick, you have to press the button on the controller. You don't just get to hold it. It is actually unbelievable how tiring and boring this game is. But do not fret, we have another wonderful boss fight coming up. It is the 6-armed monster, and don't blink because you'll miss it. I'm actually just going to let you watch the entire fight, and I'm not even going to speed it up because that's how extremely fast this goes. Also, I totally forgot to tell you that the last boss that we fought was Potato Patata Jr. Is that how you say it? Yeah, that was the last boss. I mean, sorry, if I can't provide any entertainment from this horrible game, at least I can provide some information. Maybe you can leave this video knowing a little bit more about this series, I guess. And right when I thought I was getting bored of this game, we unlocked the Buena Girl. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And with a new chapter comes a new interesting plotline. The flea asks where else they should look, and the girl says it must be at Gerbil George's masked world of lucha fun and wrestletainment. I'm sure that's probably interesting to someone. So we decided to use the girl. We can actually switch between either the guy or the girl now. Decided to use the girl to change things up. And our first enemy that we come across is, hold on, I want to get this right. I want to make sure that this is a very informative video. Skeleton. Okay, yep. The enemy is called Skeleton. At least the second enemy that we're introduced to is actually called the animatronic luchador, so at least they're a little bit more creative there. I think the most interesting part of this game is this part right here. So after I come down a little bit, there's like this little hamster looking guy that just kind of looks like he's peeking in from the side of the screen looking at you all sad. Yeah, that was probably the highlight of this game. Also, this is what it looks like when this girl uses that clear/kill everything on the screen move. And the boss at the end of these levels is this guy whose name is Heavy Traffic. And you do the exact same thing. You just kick or punch. I also got so bored, I decided to set up a lava lamp so you could have something to look at while you were watching this video. And basically, unless I turned it down to where you can't even see me, yeah, it just really didn't do much. Although you can enjoy this extremely blown out view of a lava lamp. The only real difference with the next level is this is what it looks like, and this main boss is now just roaming through the levels like the previous ones. And with a very calculated press of A plus B at the exact same time, we wipe out all the enemies and beat the level. And this is pretty much what the next level looks like, exact same gameplay. The only thing I do want to say is the skeleton guys are probably my favorite looking characters of this whole game. So comment down below, what is your favorite looking characters of this whole game? Let's have a discussion, because there's not much else to talk about. And then I do my signature, save up your thing, use it at the end, so you can just quickly get through the last part of the game. And that brings us to the boss fight. This boss fight, we're fighting Cindy Slam, and we definitely slam her Cindy. Which of course then means we unlock this signature move, Torch of Truth. I'm gonna be truthful with you right now, I wish this game was over. I actually restarted the game just because I wanted to see if there was like an information section to tell me how to use the controls. And yeah, there wasn't. Your options are quite literally turn on or off the music or sound. Oh look, Senior Micarta shows up and tells us that he saw the 3 Brutos from Harry Knuckles Wrestling Academy heading for room 207. And since I guess we're back in the school, we're fighting the same 2 enemies that we fought at the beginning, except, oh my god, look at a new challenger appears, Tibor the Terrible. And besides that, we actually get this like new oil slick on the ground that you have to avoid. And another one down, 3 more to go. And then the saddest thing in the world happens. So literally 10 minutes into the next level, because these levels just get longer and longer and longer, I fall down this pit and I get a game over. I know I'm being dramatic. You're probably thinking, oh, does it mean you have to do the whole game over? No, I just have to do this whole level over, but it's already so shitty as it is. It just felt like such a waste of 10 minutes. And the biggest slap in the face also is that was the end of the level. I just had to beat that one last guy and I would have been done. Also, this is what the second last level looks like. Also, something that I did here, so once you unlock the wrestlers, you can actually tag between them. So I had to actually swap out because I was almost dead. So I had to swap to the guy to actually be able to finish this level. And that brings us to the final level, the final boss fight. And this is against, pardon my, I don't speak Spanish, El Dolor de Kurtz. That's who this guy is. And one thing I will say about it is this was the hardest boss fight. I mean, it wasn't hard, but it was the hardest out of all of them. And then for the most unsatisfactory ending of any video game ever, you pick up the book and that's it. You also unlock the flea, and then also because I did such a good job at this game and got A+ on every level, my devastation meter will never drop. It is permanently at 100%. And for the final cutscene, the guy whose name I cannot pronounce admitted he had the 3 Brutos steal the book for him so he can learn some new moves. Headmistress then thanks you and then yells at you. And that's the end for this pile of shit sold as a game. Okay, so now with that out of the way, let's move on to the rating that you can probably totally predict. My enjoyability of this game was a 1 out of 10. It is barely a game. The controls of this game are a 1 out of 10 because other than just button mashing A or B to punch or kick. There's nothing to it. And also the fact that there are these special moves that I, along with my buddy Marco from 3 years ago, just couldn't figure out how to even activate. So the graphics, I actually like them. They feel very like flash and like hand-drawn. Side effects were kind of terrible. I mean, there was nothing that was super obnoxious, but they also didn't really fit the video game that well. They were just a little bit below average, I guess. And then the music was okay at the beginning, but then it just became extremely repetitive, and I just did not want it. And actually, surprisingly, that gives an average of 3. The graphics really did a heavy lifting here, and I will understand there's going to be a lot of people that look at these graphics and go, they look horrible, and it's like, yeah, they do, but they do have a specific charm to them. So with all that out of the way, let's see what game we're going to be playing next. And we're going to be playing Rayman Raving Rabbids.